Hello and welcome to the Frans van Kat interview. I'm Annette Young. For months, the Arab world has been rocked by a series of revolutions, beginning in Tunisia, spreading all the way across to Syria and going as far south as Yemen. But in a much-needed sign of optimism, Tunisia has just held its first truly democratic elections. And in another first for the region, a moderate Islamic party, Ennahda, seems set to win a significant slice of the votes. My guest is one who will be watching the party very closely. I'm talking about Malika Zeghal. She's a Tunisian professor at Harvard University who specialises in contemporary Islamic thought and life, and she's joining us today from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Malika Zeghal, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, let me start by asking you, as a Tunisian, how did it feel when you saw that massive number of people turning out to vote?
It is a great moment. It is a historic moment. We had in Tunisia a first revolution in the streets. And yesterday there was a second revolution, which was the institutionalization of the first uprising that started in December and ended up with the departure of ex-President Ben Ali on January the 14th. So today we are starting a new moment, a new sequence, a new phase of the revolution, which is to institutionalize uncertainty through an electoral moment that is an extraordinary moment. It is important to underline that Tunisians could not really vote and give to their vote at least a meaning, a political meaning, because the elections were rigged before. And I think for the Tunisians, it's an extraordinary moment because they were able to make a choice, to make a political choice freely. And the election was organized quite well. There has been an extraordinary work that has been done by an extraordinary team through an independent committee and not through the Minister of Interior, which is also a break with the past. And what the Tunisians have done yesterday is really celebrate the break with the past. So, of course, this is only one phase, yes.
What I was going to say is, so far it seems that Ennahda is set to win a significant number of seats in the Constitutional Assembly. As a Tunisian woman, does that worry you?
I'm not especially worried by the fact that Ennahda seems to be winning a significant proportion in the Assembly. As you know, the representation is a proportional representation, which will force all parties to make coalition, and I think this has been done on purpose so that no big party can win a great majority, a majority or more of the seats. So I think the Islamists will have their place, their role. They will occupy an important portion of the Constitutional Assembly, but they will not be the only ones. And I think it's very important that Ennahda be recognized. And as a woman, but also as a citizen, I think it's important that they have gained a place in the political landscape. Now, regarding women's rights, Ennahda has remained extremely cautious since the beginning of the whole electoral campaign, and they have in particular underlined that they would not modify or search to modify the, seek to modify the personal status code, which in fact criminalizes polygamy, for instance. And so they are accepting the gains made under Bourguiba that, of course, support women's rights. Now, we cannot know, of course, if they govern, what they will do and how they will do it. But I think we are in a new phase where we have to accept the choice of the majority. And what I see in Tunisian society is something very new and I think very healthy, which is the emergence of a new debate, the emergence of a frank debate about religious values. And I think Ennahda is not so powerful that they won't meet resistances from certain segments of Tunisian society.
Malika,
but it is high time that we get into this debate.
Malika Zeghar, what I want to ask you though, were you surprised by how many people actually did end up voting for the party?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because Ennahda has worked at really influencing Tunisian society for a very long time. They were created in 1981. And they have also been repressed very brutally by the regime, like the other opposition parties, by the way, but they have gained the status of victims. And they are, in a way, virgin politically in the sense that they have had no compromise with the regimes of Bourguiba and Ben Ali, and therefore they appear as an honest party that has been victimized and is coming back and is keeping a very moderate type of profile and discourse. Now, there are two ways to look at them. Some people would say they are sincere, and others would say that they are not. And we'll see what happens after the election.
Because that's always the issue, isn't it? I mean, how a party operates during a campaign versus how it behaves when it's in government.
Yes, definitely. So what they have also declared is that they want to govern in a national coalition. They do not want to govern by themselves. And I think this is a sign that they want to remain cautious. They want to present a moderate profile. And they compare themselves very often to the AKP in Turkey in order to underline their moderation and also to conjure the idea of the possibility of a democracy where they would be victorious electorally, but where they will also promote socio-economic development. And I think that's something that we should keep in mind. Ennahda is not just about religion. Ennahda says that they are not a religious party, but a political party with an Islamic reference. And that they are committed to the social and economic development of Tunisia. And I think this mix of progress and policies based on progress and, on the other hand, the tradition, the Islamic tradition has made what can be analyzed as a certain success on the part of Ennahda.
But we saw it, we got an indication of the problems that might lie ahead during the campaign when Salafists held a series of protests over the screening of that Iranian film, Persepolis, which of course showed the image of God. There were violent clashes. I mean, Ennahda criticised those protests. Do you think they'll do the same thing when they're in government?
Well, we have to make a distinction between the Salafists and Ennahda. And this is something that is still a little bit obscure about the political party. We know the leadership of the party very well. The leadership is, in fact, much more moderate than the base of the party. And at the very extreme of the party, you have a nebulous of Salafi and more radical groups. But I'm not sure they can be co-opted within the party or that they can be integrated within the party. And it's true that this radical wing is not a wing that can participate in a political debate the way the leadership of Ennahda does it. And Ennahda will have also to come to terms with the radical wing of the party, and that again will happen after the election. During the campaign, Ennahda did not want to divide its ranks, and now the time has come also for Ennahda to have a debate within the party, and I think after the election we'll see interesting divisions emerge between a liberal trend and a more conservative trend and a more radical trend. And Ennahda, in fact, is an agglomerate of different tendencies that will reappear after the election.
Malika Zeghar, of course, under this new system, they cannot govern in their own right. They have to form a coalition. They also have to now write a constitution. Certainly, they don't have easy tasks ahead of them, do they?
Yes, definitely. They will have to write, the Constituent Assembly will have to draft a constitution. And, you know, we had in Tunisia a Constituent Assembly that lasted from 1956 to 1959. There were debates about Islam, but they were very much muffled, and in fact Bourguiba imposed his own mark on the debates on the place of Islam in Tunisian society. And what is extraordinary now is that these debates are going to re-emerge. I hope that they will be discussed freely and publicly. And Ennahda will have also to participate in these debates, but since they will not be the majority in the Constituent Assembly, or at least this is what appears right now since we don't have the results yet, the discussion will lead to a compromise. And this National Constituent Assembly will have to work on compromises during the year of debates and discussion, and this is not going to be easy.
Finally, Malika Zeghal, one thing that struck everybody about this election was the sheer number of female candidates who participated. Is this a sign that things are truly beginning to change?
Yes, women have presented their candidacies during this election. However, we have only 5% of lists that present women as head of lists, which means that the Constituent Assembly will have a very small number of women. There were no women in the first Constitutional Assembly and Constituent Assembly, sorry, and therefore, you know, this is a great progress. And Ennahda, by the way, has not gone against gender parity in the electoral law, and that's a very good sign. I think when you look at the lines, the long lines at the station, the poll stations, then you see that women were very present. But that's not a rupture with the past. I mean, women have had an important place in Tunisian society. Of course, equality is not perfect. There are still a lot of progress to be made. But I think here we have really a continuity with the past, and hopefully we'll continue to make progress on that front.
Malika Zeghal, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. And that's it for this edition of the Frans van Kat interview. Stay tuned for more news and headlines, which are coming up shortly.